So my name is Carlos Walker, and this is Art and Hustle, Black Authors Matter. And today we have I have the honor to present Miss Winsome Bingham. How you doing, man?
hmm I'm doing great. How are you, Carlos? Thanks for inviting me.
I'm doing perfect. I like to think everything is amazing on this side.
That's good. That's good.
So, if you
Well,
will,
I'm getting snow, so
uh,
it's pretty coming down.
it's pretty coming down. It's
Yeah.
cold outside, but or as my brother just told me the other day, it looks good from the window.
Yes, that part. Yeah, that part. Yeah,
So
I agree.
if you will share with the people who you are and what you do.
Yeah, sure. So my name is Winston Bingham, and I am the author. I'm an author. I write mostly for children, children from birth to 8. I publish books for those children, and I also write chapter books for children like in elementary school, but like upper elementary, and I write novels. But my day job, I'm also an editor, and I work at a publishing house, and we publish books for children. And I'm always looking for like stories that are for groups that's marginalized. Like I like stories written about and by Black culture, Muslim culture, Hispanic, Latinx culture, Asian culture, Jewish culture as well. I like to embrace a wide variety of stories, but I definitely work and write for children.
Okay, well, being that you shared that, what made you start writing for children? What gave you
Yeah.
that thrill or that insight to say, you know what, this is what I'm gonna gear my writing towards.
So I think it had to do with my background. I'm an Army veteran, and I use my GI Bill to go to college.
Right.
I have bachelor's and master's degree in education. I have worked with. I've majored in specific learning disabilities and cognitive processing, meaning I work with students that uh, deal with learning disabilities, cognitive process, developmentally delayed. So special education or exceptional variant exceptionalities. I also have a degree in mathematics and instructional technology. I have a degree in writing for children and young adults. So I have bachelor's and master's degrees galore. And it's basically because I love children. I've never had a problem reading, learning to read, and I was really good at teaching others how to read. um, I think it's a huge disadvantage when I hear or see people, whether adults or children, that can't read, and my heart hurts for them because reading literally like can get you. I feel like it's the cheapest vacation you can take, right? You can escape in a book and be in a world and visit someplace you've never been before, and you're just there, you're relaxed, you're part of the setting, you're understanding the theme and the tone of the text. And ooh, I could just talk about that all day. So I love that. I look back, I'm a writer now, but looking back, I've always been a writer. I just come from a culture and community that writing is not, it's being an artist is not lucrative, right? You're
Mm.
here to starve an artist. And my culture is like, you need to go to college, you need to be doctors, lawyers, educators, like that type of thing. But some of the most brilliant minds also were artists, right? Whether they were musicians or playwrights or writers, right? They were still artists, they were still creating. So I came to that part later in life.
And I like to say when you did, it opened up a floodgate. It seems like when you learn to tap into your creative part and you focus on it, it doesn't start off to I don't like the term starving artist, but I understand what they say and what they mean by it. Because in the beginning
Mhm.
that's what happens. You're struggling to make something that you see in your mind take off. And it's
Mhm.
really it's a time.
Mhm.
And if you don't give up, what happens is that floodgate for some it opens early, For others, it opened late. And what we think,
Mhm.
some it don't open at all, but you always gonna get the flower or the fruit of the labor is
Mhm.
going to take off at some point. It's just not at the point that you think or you won't.
Well, I hear you and I agree with most of what you say. So most of it, I do agree. I think one of the problem that I have learned is lack of knowledge.
Mm,
And I say this because we are taught by parents and grandparents. This is the only way they knew how. That you go to work, you clock in. Like people have a hard time thinking that I don't have to leave my space, right? Leave my home, but I'm working. Because
hmm
like my Jamaican, well, how is that a job? You don't leave the house, right?
they don't
Because
understand it.
they don't understand that because they grew up in a time where working is clocking in, getting a paycheck
Hmm
every week, every 2 weeks. Like that is their definition of working, right? And even with our children, we plan that, right? We tell them you have to go to college, you got to be 10 times better. And all of those are valid.
Great,
They're
great thing.
valid, right? Because we what we do, we instill self-esteem
Hmm
and we instill consistency in a work habit. But we are also seeing in the last 10 years that college entrance is dwindling because this generation are building their own tables
They're
and they're
creative.
pulling up their own chairs. Yes. And they're figuring out ways of going to college and coming out thousands and hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt and still can't find a job that they're passionate about or still can't find a place where they belong.
Hmm
And we're seeing more and more, even with this new political agenda, where this push is for mediocrity, right? For us to have mediocre job and work till we die to the bones and not reap, what our ancestor planted, our gift, for not expanding and on our gift that we have. So, with that being said, I agree with you. But there's something about not knowing. Like, I didn't know that I could make a living as a writer because
hmm
I didn't know any writers. I had no one to talk to, no one to tell me that I can write a novel. And it's very hard to get published, don't get me wrong. It's very hard to get published. But I see self published authors are like, I'm creating my own space. I'm writing my own, I'm producing my own, I'm putting my own work out there. I always think of Master P and the back of his
Bingo.
car, like, you know
Bingo.
what I mean? Hustling and getting out there. And those things are all valid. And we can't look down at people trying to follow their passion by living their dreams. I'm all for dreamers. Like we're all dreamers, so let's do it. So I think we need to encourage more and we need to foster children that shows that creative side because there is a correlation between that creative side linked to math and science. And a lot of times because we don't know, it's easy for us to say, well, that's not going to work. But I know this. Because why wouldn't you tell your kids to be doctors and lawyers? Because we
hmm
know those are lucrative. But I have a friend that's a lawyer with over $200,000 in debt and work for the defender's office and don't, she's making it, but
But
the way how it was painted, she should be living large,
and
right?
she's probably not fulfilled. With you, there's a
Yes.
fulfillment in what you, because there's a Bible
Mm,
verse that always comes to my mind that says your gift will make room for you and put you before great men. It doesn't
mm,
just say your hard work will. It does tell you to put faith and work together to
mm-hmm.
make this happen. But
Yeah,
when you learn that your gift, that thing that God gave you a love for writing.
yeah,
He,
yeah,
and when you learn that, hold up, you telling me, hold on, this right here, the thing that I love, and if I put my passion into it because I have a passion for it, that I can sit at home and work. They may
yeah,
not think it's work, but every day you're moving on your own time, yes.
yes,
But I have to
yes.
do this with my time because if I
Hmm.
don't do this, my time ain't gonna give me the benefit of this of income.
Yes,
So
that
you
part.
you are being disciplined where some people have
Hmm.
their only discipline comes from me being set on a schedule by somebody else. But when
Mm-hmm.
you learn to say, you know what, I got to set my own schedule, but my schedule got to be similar to that schedule that I work for somebody else.
Yeah.
What do they say? You can take and give your dreams to somebody else working for them, or either you can create your dream by working for yourself. And you
Mm-hmm.
learn how to do that. So let's get into your books. So,
Okay.
if you will, share a few of your books and
Okay.
what they're about.
So my first book is what I call my Black Joy book, and this is Soul Food Sunday. And I love this book. It's about a little boy and his grandmother. And his grandmother passed down the tradition of cooking soul food. And this book came out in 2021. It was out in like 2 weeks and it was already a New York Times best book of the year, which was huge. It was huge for me as a debut author, but it was also huge because what it told publishing, the gatekeepers, like people want joy. Like we don't want, Black folks just doesn't want books that's about slave and
Mm-mm.
enslavement. We want joy. We want to see our life, our live experiences being applauded, being embraced. And we want it to be empowering, not only for us, but for others. Every culture is bonded by food in some way or fashion. And it's my favorite book. The illustrator is a Bronx artist called C.G. Esperanza, who just won like 2 Mondays ago the Caldecott honor. It's like winning a Grammy or an Oscar, and it's a
Mm.
children's book. And so he is a friend, and he did such an amazing job with this book that it actually earned him a Coretta Scott King Award.
Mm.
And it's based on Dr. King's wife, Coretta, and just a book that exemplified Black culture in a positive light. So I love Soul Food Sunday, and it's the gift that keeps giving, right? But I also write for children. I didn't get to see books with military children, like children
Uh-huh.
that their family are serving. So I created the Fort Good series.
Mm.
And Fort Good is about four friends. The main character is Lang and his mom and dad. And the first book started with them PCS in a permanent change of station to a post in Virginia. And there he met up with Lane, Carlos, and George. And they're just kids getting in shenanigans on a military base with the modes and woods and them just getting away. And I love it because my son, we were stationed at Rock Island and them jokers stay gone. Like you'll see in the summertime, a whole bunch of military kids just walking the post, just doing whatever. The only rule is you better not let that general knock on my door.
You
Like
took
real talk.
you took lived experiences and poured them into the book, into your books.
You have to. I feel like honestly, the best books that I've written are the ones that I've lived.
Mm.
I feel like because there's, people always say, well, how do you write what you know? This is what I know.
Mm-hmm. You
I
know the
know about
military. You
Sunday
knew food.
dinners.
You knew
Yeah.
food. You knew military.
Yeah, I know about Sunday dinners. I know about Black families getting together on Sunday after church and eating, talking trash. And I come from a family that did the same thing. So yeah, I know about that. This book came out. Oh, this book came out in 2023, and it's called The Walk. And it
Mm.
was featured. Oh yeah, I'm trying to get it in.
There
It
you go.
was featured on CNN. And the walk is about a community that goes to the poll to vote, and it's about a little girl off from school, and grandmother's watching, and the grandmother told her, well, don't get too comfy because you're coming with me, and we're going on the walk. And the walk is for them to go through the neighborhood, and they collect people, and everybody just walk to the polls, chit chatting. They walk in to vote, and so that happened to me when I was a kid, and so I put it in this book. But I think what was so beautiful about this book when it first came out was getting a lot of stars, a lot of great reviews like, this is the book we need, such and such. And it came out in 2023 and election was 2024. Well, I felt like it came out to the hype to all like 4 or 5 stars and then it just died off. Then the election season rolled around, and I'm traveling in New. I think I just came back from DC, and I came back from DC, and I had like a stack of mail, and I'm just looking and ripping, and then this letter, this little note, envelope, note, envelope, and I opened it, and I opened it only because it had a military rank title on the front of it, and I don't get mail that addressed to me in that fashion or in that way. And I opened it, and it was from Hillary Clinton, and I was like, "Wait, what? How did she get my address?" And I'm like, "And who are these people?" And she says, I got a copy of The Walk, beautiful book. Bill and I read it, how important and all this stuff. And then I was like, oh, okay, that's cool. Then I get something came to my phone, and CNN's like, we want to interview you about The Walk. And and I was like, well, wait, I guess this book, and I should have known because I was doing a book fest, and someone sent me a thing. They're like, your book has a banner on Amazon, like the bestseller. I'm like, which book, right? Because at this time, I just had a new book came out, which I'll talk about, called The Table. And they're like, The Walk. I'm like, The Walk? That's like a year ago. And so it took this spike. Then NPR did a interview with me and the illustrator that it ran, and CNN saw it. They wanted to interview us. So we were on CNN talking about it. And it was just so much livelihood around that book that on election day, NPR chose it as a book of the day, which was so appropriate, right? Because voting is about community anyway. And it was one of these, like, I'll get stuff from people. I was getting really nasty stuff in my DM on Twitter. I'm still there, but I seldom, like, threatening, nasty, crazy stuff from people that doesn't look like me. And they had thoughts and ideas and what should happen to me and what they would do to me, like really crazy stuff. And then I thought about it. I said, if a book can make people this angry,
Come on.
that tells us the power of our artistry.
You
right?
just gotta know that there's power behind it.
It's power of our artistry, because nobody's worried about you if they're not threatened by you. I had a professor told me that in college. I had a Black professor told me that in college. She said, if nobody is threatened by you, then they're not worried about you. So for them to be worried about you, that means they're threatened by you.
That means you got an energy that's in you that, well, it's something in them that they are dealing with. But you, through your artistry, can bring things out to correct it, because once you see something, you can't forget it.
You can't forget it. But it also goes back to history and how the system is generated, right? The foundation of American culture has always been about hate. And people don't want to admit it, but you got to think about it, right? Keeping people. I think about the college system today and all these people in debt, just trying to get an education. When we understand an educated civilization is power to the people within it, right? If people are embraced or are educated, they can create this generation, this productivity, got to make the world a better place. But with a design of for those that have and have not, there's always going to be the struggle to keep people from being knowledgeable about the world they live in or the people around them. And divide and conquer is one thing, but when you're spewing hate or you're pushing and you're intentionally being segregative and segmenting by population and cultures and tradition, in the long run, it's really going to be very hurtful. I think about enslaved people, how they didn't want them to learn to read because they've always understood the power and the blueprint of Blackness and its contribution to the world. I really think that with our art, it is not only empowering, but it's for us to be able to be truthful, right? To speak of the times. I think of W.E.B. Du Bois and Langston Hughes, and I know it seems cliche because we're always saying the same people: Toni Morrison, right? Nina Simone, Josephine Baker, um,
Winston
Vicky
Bingham.
Feldwick. Yeah, those are the people.
No, I
We
said Winston Bingham.
Well, Winston Bingham, Antoine Eden, the new generation of children literature, right? And Tracy Todd, fashion
Ta-Nehisi
like there's
Ta-Nehisi Coates.
oh my God, the message. What's the power in the message? That book, the message, the power in the message, and standing 10 toes down on what you've written, what you say, and what you meant. And if they try to misconstrue it, say, no, I don't want you to take out of context what I'm
Come on.
saying. So
Here we go.
this is what I am saying, and speak it, and not be afraid to stand in your own truth. There's some power to
I
that.
want to speak to that because most artists, even authors, they wait till you die and then they say, oh, well, such and such thought this. No, in this day and time, we have the ability to document what I created said. So I ain't leaving you to your own thoughts because to me, I think artistry is objective.
Yeah.
Yes, it's subjective too, because subjective, that's the people's thoughts.
Yeah.
Objective is I created my art for a specific
Mhm.
reason. So
Intention and purpose.
to me is more objective than
Yes.
subjective. Why they say,
Yes.
oh, art is subjective. No, the artists know why the artist created. And while the
Yeah.
artist is living, you should, especially if the artist want to really let people know why I created what I created. We have the
Yes.
ability while we living to let you know, document it, and when you pass, guess what they will never say? Well, I think. Mm-mm. I
That's
left
true.
I left it here for you to know why. Not
Yeah.
think, but to
Yeah.
know that I created art for this specific reason.
Well, that's true, and that on the other side of that coin, the problem is a lot of time we come to these things after people have died and gone, and so now it's left to our interpretation, and that's where the subjectivity comes in. You're right. As artists, what our objective, right? Our goal is to create something with purpose and intention. But
Mhm.
if we don't get the platform and get the space to have that conversation and say, yes, I saw so and so speak, and she said this, and she meant this, right? When
Mhm.
someone said, well, Winston Bingham meant, like, no, 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 no. I saw her speak at Politics and Prose in DC, and she said this, and she meant this, right? We need to have the platform, and we need to meet those people. Right now, I'm working with Cynthia St. James. Do you know who she is?
Mhm.
And I reach out to her. I'm like, I'm going to track this woman down because I have been in love with Waiting to Exhale the first time I saw the cover. And I just have to reach out to her. So I spent days trying to track this woman down when the whole time she was right there on the internet, right? And she's an artist. So she has her website, and I emailed her and I said, listen, I am a fan of your work. I remember I was in Operation Desert Storm during war when my friend sent me a box with a 7-Up cake, oatmeal and raisin cookies, and a whole bunch of books because I've always been a reader. And I remember reading, Waiting to Exhale, and devoured it. Now I'm like, I need every book by Terry McMillan. So I got Mama, and like, it's like Terry McMillan. So when I tracked down this woman and I introduced myself, and she knew of Soul Food Sunday, which
Mm.
was huge for me because you don't know what you don't know. And she says, yes, I will let you tell my story. And I am talking to her. I'm asking all these questions so I can create, because I write picture books. So it's for little kids.
Mhm.
And a couple days ago, Monday, so that's a few days ago, Tuesday, a couple days ago, I was in New York because I was invited to do, they're doing a redo of A Great Day in Harlem with all the artists.
Mm.
And Dr. Paulette and Cheryl, they invited these Black women in publishing. And I'm sitting down, and this lady came in. Her name is Essie Chambers, and she wrote the book Swift River. And now I'm like, oh my gosh, like I'm among these literary Black women that I so love, whether they're editors in publishing, because there's really a few of us, or writers. And this lady walked in, and I said to my friend Tracy Todd, who is the award-winning author of Nina, and I'm like, that's Mahogany Brown. I just have to go over there and introduce myself. And so I went over there and I was like, Mahogany, I knew it was her, but I'm like, what if it's not her? And this, that is common. And she's like, yes. And I'm like, I want to introduce myself. My name is Winston. No, I want to say to you, I love Gloria Scott. She wrote this book in a gorgeous book about this teenage Black girl. You all have to read. I don't want to give anything away, but when I tell you, it is life changing. And I've since shared it with so many Black girls. But I'm like, I am such a fan, and thank you for writing it. It's so powerful. And she said to me, what is your name? And I said, I'm Winston Bingham. She says, wait, Soul Food Sunday? And I was like, it is hot, right? And she's like, oh my God, I love that book. I'm putting it in my best. I've been giving it. You never know that connection here from a distance. I am loving this woman and her work.
And
And
she
she's
loves
equally loving me and my work. And it was just this moment of having that conversation with these amazing women, some powerful writers and publishers and people that have been mentored by Toni Morrison and or inspired by, like, there's something about speaking truth to power and
it.
being creative, right, creating another form of medium to get that across. It's just powerful, super powerful.
I like to say, me personally, I only meet great people. Couldn't make
Oh,
this up. I couldn't make it up if I wanted to. But what I realized is that when you can see greatness in yourself,
mm,
what happens is it attracts the greatness in everybody else, because not just did I get to meet you, but the greatness in every person that walks in your path. You may
mm,
not see it, but it's there. And when you
yeah,
learn that is in you, you speak to their greatness, and they always see what they actually have. It's called
yeah,
inspiration. And it's
I
almost
agree.
mind blowing to, like I said, how God allowed me to meet you just last week. And I had
Yes,
just got to the store when you was in there. Y'all was about to
yes,
leave, to be honest, but
yeah.
it was meant to happen, because guess what? God knows how to make things happen. And the
Mm.
greatness that's in you draws the greatness around you as well.
Thank you. Thank you for
So,
saying that.
your matter of fact, I did want to ask this question. Who was the person that took you on the walk?
My grandmother. So I grew up in Fort Lauderdale, and my friend Mary was a piece of work. She was a good friend because we were little kids, but she lived up the street with her father and his wife, which was her stepmother. And Mary was a twin, but her sister lived someplace else, and she like it's two parent, one have one and one have the other. And I remember her mother and the lady, and her mother and the dad across the street, Mr. Hill. He drove bus in Broward County. They did this. They would like go. And I remember my grandmother. One day she was like, "Y'all put on your shoes," and we had to go. And I'm not gonna lie to you. As an adult, I understand, but as a kid, you don't understand that. It's Florida. Even though it's November, it's hot and you have to go. She like, go get such and such, and you run up and knock on the door, and this lady comes out, or other people. And for us, it was just get kids racing in the street, going with them, and they're walking and talking. And then we get up there, and you wait because they got to go in and vote. And then there you go in, or you sit outside, and the kids just doing things. And then I also remember when I was teaching in Broward County, they stopped letting the parents bring the kids, which I thought was interesting, but still didn't process that effect and why, right? Because if you don't have a babysitter, how are you going to go vote, right? You're
Mhm.
looking at all these different things. And an interesting fact about this book, when I was editing the book, I had a group of, at the time, I had co-founded called Black Creators in Kidland, me and Antoine Edie and like 8 other people. And it was a group for children book writers who were Black. And we had at the time like a Slack group. And so when Emma was talking about the machine and the hint of voter suppression, I put in the chat, like, tell me y'all experiencing, going to vote. Do
Mm.
y'all bubble in or is it electronic? And Denise lived in Harlem. And Denise was like, no, we have the old machines in New York. I'm in New York and I have the old machines. My friend Alan's from Mississippi. And he's like, he went to Tennessee State. He's like, yeah, we have old machines. And my editor says, that's not true. I live in New York and we have the new machines. She's white. And so I went back to Denise. I said, well, Emma says she lives in New York. She has new machines. She's like, no, I live in Harlem. We got the old machines. Even within that was shocking for her because her understanding was the whole state, right,
Had
was
new
on the same.
machine, and
And
they were still doing. They were still doing what they always do.
that's a few years ago.
You cannot get what I come to learn. You can't make the system do anything with the other than what the system do. But what you
Because it's
can do,
designed that way.
it's a well look. People think it's
Yeah.
broke.
No, it's
No,
functioning by design.
this is a well
Yeah.
ran machine, and
Yeah.
what you have to do is create your own machine.
Yeah.
Don't try to break the machine.
Yeah.
You have the power, as you said, that the young people are doing. They're creating their own machine. They're
Yes.
pulling up to the table with their well, not they're not even pulling up to the table.
They're building their own table
They're
and
creating
bringing
their
their own
own table.
chairs. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we're gonna move the conversation. Your next book.
So we did the walk in soul food in it. So then last September, this book came out and it's called The
The table.
Table.
The table. Look at that.
And this book was co-written with one of my best friends, Dr. Wiley Blevins, who is also my boss. But he like, listen, don't need a boss. I'm not her boss. But anyway, and it centers two family and their connection to a table.
Mm.
And this book came out to rave reviews. It was a Junior Library Guild. And we just had ALA, and people were like, oh, the table's going to win an award. And of course, it got nothing. And I knew it wouldn't have gotten anything. I didn't want to say like a downer because one of the things about librarian, they like everything to be rosy. And those are just facts. They believe children books should be entertaining and rosy. And when we talk about truth and we put empathy on especially this push with banning books, they're like, no, we need rosy. And so I get it. But this book deals with Appalachian, it deals with poor families, but it's dignity in everything. And they don't want that because to have this is to admit the privilege or the proximity to privilege. And people don't want to think they're privileged. I had someone say, I don't have privilege. I grew up poor. You can still grow up poor
and still
and be
have a certain
privileged.
privilege.
Yeah, I'm a Black woman and I'm a Caribbean woman and I have certain privilege. And I know that where I am and the thing is on the backs of Black Americans. Yeah, when people see me, they just assume I'm Black American. I'm Jamaican by birth. But I also know there were programs set in place for Caribbean people to have a better life. Yeah, because I remember people telling me, well, you're not Black, you're Jamaican. And I'm like, and you're ignorant, right? Because we don't understand that. So my thing, we're still Black. We're all from the diaspora, but even rich Black folks, they can understand they too have some privilege and some proximity to privilege, not proximity to whiteness, but proximity to privilege because they're not one and the same and they're not interchangeable by any means.
Or to your point earlier, when you and I was talking, if it ain't about the whole, it's about the person. And when you think about privilege, that's that individual.
Yeah,
It's not the collective. Meaning,
it's not communal.
Exactly. Yeah. And who was it? Muhammad Ali. Muhammad
Yes.
Ali basically said he found out that um, he could still be called the N word in spite of money. And it let him
Yes.
know that, guess what? I'm not free. Just because I got
Yes.
money, I may be in a certain a privileged standpoint, but if everybody doesn't have the money, or if everybody is
Yes.
not in this same realm, we're still not free.
We're still
And
not free.
and I just had to bring that up to that point. Even if you are privileged, you're still in in a same situation.
Because you're black.
Good God. So
Because you're black.
look,
Yes.
and even with you, like you said, until you speak, they see one thing: you're black.
Black.
But when you
Yes.
speak, it may give you a privilege, but
Because
still,
that's
in
yeah.
the beginning of every stage, I see who I see.
Yeah. I
But
say that all the time being in the military. When you have on that uniform, no one cares your background, right? They just see Americans.
that's it.
And that's exactly how it's designed to be. But we all of us have to understand that we're not free unless everyone is free. And we have to work together as a collective, right? Collective community to free all our children, our children. My friend that I was visiting with met me that
Mhm.
teaches in DC. Her and I went to dinner. We were having a conversation. And she was saying she teaches at a school and she was getting heated because the teacher kept saying my kids. And her kids were the kids that was in her classroom. And when she was telling me, because I'm a teacher and we taught together for like 10 years in Hampton, I was like, I already see the problem. She's like, what? I said, well, already my kids. Every kid that come in that school
It's
is
our
our
kids.
kid. It's our kids. We're responsible for every single child. And this, when it's mine and mine, this ownership over people, ideas, thoughts, beliefs, behavior of the individuality of agency and autonomy, that's problematic because
Yeah,
we all need to work together. I work for the betterment of
of
all, for
humanity.
all the diaspora. Like, this is what we're doing, all of us, because your oppression is
It's
my
yours.
oppression. It just happened on a different island. But oppression is oppression. How you
And
slice it.
and to your point, we are technically just one group of people, just learn
We
different
are.
languages up under different people.
Yeah,
But
we're split.
we are one group of people that left
Yeah.
and went to different separate parts and
Yeah.
mixed with whatever native that was there on that island, because there was some type of natives that was there
Yeah.
that
There were people there before we
your
got there.
look,
Yeah.
they mixed with the Africans, and what happened is you got us.
Yeah.
And now we are still one people, different language. We're one tribe.
Yeah.
As I would say, who is it? Matter of fact, today is his birthday. Um, uh,
Bob Marley.
Bob Marley. Bob Marley understood the tribe of Judah.
Yeah.
That is who we are. We are
Yeah. Hail
special people.
Selassie.
And
Yes.
yes, look, hey, all praise.
Yes.
Look, and what I will say before we go, I need a few things. I need you to give me a word of wisdom to all that may be able to hear this and be able to gain a word of wisdom from you that may inspire
Yes.
them.
But before, can I just get these two books really quick?
Yes,
Because
ma'am.
it's important.
Yes, ma'am.
This book is Missing Mama, and I think everybody need to get it because it's about a little girl dealing with a mom with PTSD.
Mm.
And we're getting ready to see so much trauma. We are, I hate to say it and I hate to see grim, but we are not that far away from war, and we're getting ready to have a whole lot of products of war. So, and this is Life is Beautiful, and it's about grief, it's about death, and we don't get to showcase that a lot in children's book, and we should. Like 2020, millions of people, right, woke
They
up and they were
left.
gone. Someone need to be having this conversation with children. Someone need to, and we're not doing that. And I want to put some children's book because I'm sure your viewers, they have kids, grandkids, nieces, nephews, kids in the community. We need to be talking about dreaming, and it's
Yeah.
no other book but Nigel and the Moon, written by the amazing Antoine Eady, who's from Garnett, South Carolina. And it's illustrated by Gracie Zack. But this book is about a little boy named Nigel that tells his dreams to the moon, right? And I love that it had Black parents in here. They're like a family unit. And I love that for Nigel. It's one of my favorite books. And this book is big, and it's written by the Vashti Harrison. And Vashti is the first Black woman to win the Caldecott Medal, which is like the Oscar. They've never had a Black woman win it until 2024. And it was Vashti. And this book is about big, and it's about how little Black girls, and you know how you started, you're so big, and then you get too big, and now they're using that to crunch you. And it's how she just take all those negative words and just stood up in her truth and threw it back at them and like accepting it. This is my rally cry for Black girls rise. Not even Black girl magic, like Black girl rise for Black woman, right? Because we have to stand big and bold, and we are indeed the blueprint. And I love, 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 love this book. And the last set of books, it's so many Black authors. You should do this again so I can give a rundown for Black books that people need to buy. But these books are by the amazing Tracy Todd, who is an author, and her dad was a civil rights activist. He's the co-founder of Push, and he sued Chicago. The first lawyer sued for police brutality in Chicago, and he just passed on the 3rd last year in 2024. So we're sending our love to Tracy as she grieved. But any books that she's written, Nina, this about Jackie Ormez, the first Black female cartoonist, and she just released this book in January called Make a Pretty Sound, a story of Ella Jenkins, the first lady of children's music, and Ella just passed. But these authors and these books are books that should be on shelves for Black and brown children, period.
Do you happen to know them personally?
Of course.
If you can, I love to do an interview like this, so then we can actually not just hear you talk about their books. One, I do want to thank you too, because I have not had nobody else promote somebody else's book while we was on here.
Really?
But seeing you do that is amazing, because you just went, and don't get me wrong, they just want to make sure that they got their interview, and they did it, and I thank God for them. But to see you promoting that is different.
That's collective community, right? Collective.
That's what you're about.
Yeah, collective. And I'm also a teacher, and I'm also about literacy, about children reading, and not only reading to be reading, but reading to be entertained, as well as reading to acquire knowledge. I've never heard of Ella Jenkins, and this book is so beautiful. It's so rhythmic. It's so gorgeously illustrated, and the text is amazing. Who knew there was a first Black cartoonist, and her name was Jackie Ormez? Like, we all know about Nina, but did you know about Nina and her friendship with Nikki Giovanni? Like, that might not be in this book, but it's so much. And we have battle cries. We're watching the world fall apart. We need to learn our history because they're working overtime to ban it. So now is the time.
As a lot of people got in chaos thinking that that the president was going to take and ban or get rid of Black History Month. But like I tell everybody, you can't get rid of something that you didn't start. Shout out to Carter G. Woodson for the amazing week that he created, which was Black History Week, that turned into Black History Month. And guess what? You can't remove something that we are supposed to be teaching. We teach it to the world. They only learn because of us. If we allow them to go ahead.
I was just going to say, and as parents, it is our responsibility to learn this stuff so we can share this stuff with our children. I remember my son was in 5th grade, and he came home and taught me about Ernest Just. I never knew of Ernest Just because this new school, they were naming them after animals. And he felt like, since our pod is about math, he was in the gifted education and math class. Why not name after Ernest Just? And I'm like, and I am now this huge Ernest Just fan, like, and I learned that from my son. So we can learn from our kids, but we can teach them as well.
And it's important that we teach them. Look, to me,
Yeah.
I think the shift came with people when I learned you don't appreciate stuff until it's taken away or gone.
Yeah.
And
I see
when
that.
this happened, it gave everybody an awakening of the appreciation of what we have.
Mm,
So to be honest, it might have did a positive. It made us decide to take a look at this thing and say, hold up, you can't get rid of this because guess what? It's so much that it has brought to America. Black history is American history.
yeah. Oh,
So
facts.
here we
Facts.
go. I need a word of wisdom, and then I need them to know where they can go and purchase your book because the reason for this, I need y'all to go buy every one of her books.
So my word of wisdom is to pick your battle, but plan for a war.
Mm.
That's my word of wisdom. Pick your battle, but plan for a war. And you can find my books at any bookstores in the world. I don't want to the big guy because you can get it there too, or you can go to bookshop.org and order from there. So any bookstore.
How can they
Support
get
your
your
local
signature?
bookstore.
Because some people love signatures. Look, I'm
Yeah,
a
I
signature.
do. I'm one of those people. I'm like, I love book signing. So if you want a signed copy, you can order my books from Possible Futures Books in New Haven. So you can go on Google it, Possible Futures Books in New Haven. Um, Go to their website, order, put in the order thing, or call them and say, hey, the owner is Lauren says, I am ordering Winsome Bingham books and I need signatures. She let me know when orders come in and I'll go there and sign it. And you can do the same for Mystic. So there's the Bank Square Books in Mystic. You can call them, say, I want to place an order for books by Winsome Bingham. They'll call me and say, hey, we have orders here for you that want your signature, and I'll go there and sign.
I wanted to make sure because whether you always know it or not, you're huge. You're a butterfly. And
Oh, thank
that's the
you.
reason why all of those butterflies that you seen in the midst of that room, while you was thinking, oh man, I need to get theirs, they was looking and saying, no, we know you.
Yes,
We
thank
look,
you.
we love your book. Before I go, I gotta give you this. There was a time that I met Bishop T.D. Jakes, and I ran into a guy, and I was like, man, I met Bishop T.D. Jakes. I got to give him my book. So the man said, no, that's you in the picture. I said, no, man, I got to meet Bishop T.D. Jakes and give him a book. He said, no, that's you in the picture. So I shut up and started listening. And what he said was, no, he got to meet you.
Yeah,
And it made my whole perspective of life change because I realized something. God is actually taking and moving me in a direction. And for just like I got to meet you,
yeah,
you got to meet me. And it blew my mind. Because
yes.
what God does is he's pushing you in a position. People know you. I
Thank
didn't
you.
look, you didn't have a clue who I was until God said, hey, I'm going to allow you to meet her for a reason. And
Mm,
it's bigger than what we know. Me and you,
yeah.
I will always be in touch with you from the day we met to
Thank you,
whenever, look,
Carlos.
whenever God foresees one of us to leave here. I am appreciative of your writing. I'm
Thank
appreciative
you.
of just your knowledge of books
Thank you
because
so
you
much.
also learned something that God gave you how to be free and use your
Yes.
creativity to do as He did. We were made in God's image to create, and you're
Thank
living off
you.
your creation. So I
I
love you, I
appreciate
love you, I
that.
love you, and
Thank you.
continue to be great.
I appreciate that. Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. I appreciate that.
This was
And
an
it's a pleasure meeting you and your change, your metamorphosis, your change in the world. You're adapting to change and you're adopting change. And I appreciate that for you. And I wish you so much more success than you ever can imagine. So thank you
thank
for
you,
having me.
Thank you. A lady asked me before I quit my job to sell books full time. She said, "Can you stand change?" I said, "Yeah." I had to change going in prison, had to change coming out of prison. I've been fired from about 3, 4 different jobs. I said, "This is all I know." And she said, "If you can go, go." And I left
Yes.
that job that day. And right now, I have seen God over the last 3.5 years help me live off a book, just a book,
Mm.
something that He gave me as a creation, sitting in prison, which I did pray and ask for something, and He did His work. And it's still mind blowing to this day. And then my second book is still mind blowing that, hey, I created that and I'm watching
Yes.
it grow now. So thank you, thank
Yes.
you, thank you. And
Thank you.
I will be in touch with you. My name is Carlos Walker. This is Art and Hustle Black Authors Matter, Season 2, and this is Miss Winsome Biggle.
Thanks,
Blessings.
guys.